Hey folks, happy Tuesday. Hard to believe that it's been, I want to say almost 6 months since we've done this, Ma. We're going to have to pick up the pace and catch up, but better now than never. And it is the perfect time to have the discussion on today's topic, marketing strategy. So, unlocking the power of your marketing strategy. What does that mean? We're going to dive into 5 quick areas of focus. So if you guys have your own internal strategy discussion, you can kind of use these 5 areas to determine what you're currently doing today, and if you're not, what you can do in those areas, and take a look at what's working and what's not. We're kind of going to shorten and compress these things. I know previously we were a little long-winded, 30 to 45 minutes, but we're going to make these. Yeah, we're going to make these strategy talks. So bite size, 10 to 15 minutes, get some value, get in, get out. But if you want to have a follow-up conversation, or if you have future topics that you're interested, of course, drop us a comment. But Ma, I'm going to let you kick this stuff. Just what does marketing strategy? I know we're in Q4. I know it's budget season, and obviously marketing is a big part of that. But let's just talk a little bit at a 30,000-foot view, marketing strategy.
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, when you think about strategy, you're thinking about a plan of action. You're thinking about a course of action. You're thinking about how you're going to measure things. All of that is part of a strategy. And I know one thing I just want to address is that it's that time of year where, especially if you are virtual, you're virtual employees, and you're meeting with people just like this on camera, it can be super draining, and the last thing you want to do is another meeting. And I would say, I've done so many of these in the last 30 years in various businesses and with various clients that I get it. I get the meeting burnout, but I would say strategy for the next year is one of the meetings you don't want to miss. And I think sometimes what we do is we overcomplicate it. Like, I want to keep some simplicity with what we share with you today, because you may find out in all of these things that there's one part of it that you really don't do yet that can really make a change for you going into 2025. Maybe it's measurement. So we get a lot of with marketing strategy where people will be like, well, I want to do this, 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 this. Those are the things I want to do. But the question is why? And how are you going to measure whether that's even doing anything for you? And do you even have the wherewithal or the temperament to wait to see how something works or does not work? So that would just be my plug, is like, don't overcomplicate it. Do the meeting. Invite new people into the meeting. I'm all about inviting various levels of people into your strategy meetings, because they're the ones that are current and know, particularly people that are the ages of and like the audience that you're trying to engage with, or who your clients are or your markets are. So that's what I'll say to kick it off.
And the only thing that I would add to that is making sure that you incorporate customer-facing individuals into these conversations, because oftentimes they are the ones that are the boots on the ground, or they have their ears to the street of what's being said or how something's perceived or where they heard something. So to your point about measurements, metrics, those customer-facing individuals sometimes have a little bit more of an insight than others that obviously will be very impactful for your strategy. So with that said, let's dive into the 5 areas. I'm going to kind of rattle off the 5 areas first, and then let's do a little bit of back and forth on what each area means and how you can kind of drill into those. So the 5 areas at Gazzo that we really like to highlight are, first and foremost, awareness. What are you doing for your brand awareness? Second, trust. How are you building trust with your customers? Third would be acquisition. What does that buyer's journey look like? And what is your acquisition process? And how do you support that with marketing? Fourth would be retention. You get customers. How do you keep your customers? How do you continue to engage them? How do you continue to grow your brand? What does retention look like for you?
What's the value of a kept customer? Like, what's the value of an upsell versus like having to sell someone new is huge.
Exactly. And that's a great point that we'll get into, is it's not just retention, but how do you continue to penetrate accounts? And that's probably more for like a B2B type client. But even on the B2C side, for someone as little as, fast food, they come and they may get the same thing, but how do you sell them other products when they're there? What does that retention look like? And then last but not least, and probably one of the most overlooked channels, is referral. Referral is the cheapest sales mechanism that we have. So what are you doing to support referrals in your business? So let's go back to the top. Let's go all the way back to awareness, and talk a little bit about what does awareness mean? What are the channels to achieve awareness? So I'll let you start, Ma, and then I'll piggyback.
Yeah, I think I'm going to talk about it today from like a small business perspective, even a sole proprietor perspective. And then, we can talk about larger organizations. It's different, but it's like, who's aware of you? I always
Mm-hmm.
say, like, who's aware of you and how are they aware of you? And it's funny because smaller businesses have a lot of insight into this, especially like mom and pop kind of businesses, where I was just talking to one and they said, it's really discouraging because I'm doing all of this and I have really super high engagement. People like what I'm putting out. But then I talk to somebody and they're like, I've never even heard of you before. And it's kind of like awareness. We have this idea that everybody knows we're there or that everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows what we're doing. But the way I look at it is everybody's not ever going to know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not an everybody thing. Awareness is how can you increase a percentage of awareness year after year, month after month, that more people are learning. You shouldn't be stuck in that same, because the flip side of that is people, organizations, sole proprietors, small businesses, and even large organizations, quite frankly, get they believe that everybody's seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that can sort of make you complacent. Like, everyone knows we're there. Restaurants will say this. And that's the business that I was talking to. Like, it was really sad that I'm getting all this engagement and great reviews, but then I talked to so many people and they're like, I never even heard of you before. That is what I consider awareness. And you have to put particular parts of your strategy in place to increase that in awareness. And there's multiple buckets that go into awareness. But if you don't even understand where you're at today and that you need to increase that month after month, year upon year, then all the buckets you put into that don't matter, because
Mm-hmm.
awareness it's fun to do little focus groups, mini surveys, where you just say, like, do you know this business? And get like, okay, well, 8 out of 10 people didn't even know this business exists. That means there's a lot of opportunity in the awareness phase of your brand cycle.
Absolutely. And the other area that I would add to that when it comes to awareness, and you sort of nodded at the beginning, is what is your target customer profile? Because that's truly what impacts awareness. Because there's folks that may not be your TCP that are aware of you, but
There,
they don't, it doesn't matter. Right.
right,
So that goes back to, I think, what does awareness mean to your brand, and who do you need to be, or who do you want to be aware of your brand? So that's a big piece of it as well. If you don't have a target customer profile, frankly, a lot of your marketing strategy has no foundation, because what you're doing isn't driving towards the profile that you need to engage with. So I say, first and foremost, we talk about awareness. Who is your TCP? Because that's going to be the first question that even when we would ask when we go into a marketing strategy is, okay, we're talking about awareness, but who is your target customer and what do they look
right.
like? What are their attributes? Where are they living? What do they like? What do they listen to? What do they watch? What age group are they? What job title do they have? Those are all things what are relevant to them, which ultimately then you can align with to make sure that your brand is creating awareness for those types of individuals.
Yep.
Second stage is building trust. I really, really love this one because I feel like it is a big component in today's world. There's, it used to be, do they have a website? Okay, then they're a trustworthy business. Now it's like, do they have a website? Do they have social profiles? Are they active on social? How many people are registered to them on LinkedIn as an employee to really build trust? So I think there's a little bit of an up the ante and the level of trust. So outside of just, the T's and C's of making sure you do have a digital presence, that you're active on your digital presence, what are other ways that you could be building trust?
Yeah. And I know we got to keep it short because we said we're going to keep this 10 to 15 minutes. We're already at 9.5 minutes. But I will just say the number one thing we hear about trust when you ask the question, what makes you trust a business? What makes you go to a business? Are reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Or hearing from word of mouth and reviews, which kind of are the same thing. It's just one's online and one is out there. You're talking to somebody face to face.
Absolutely.
So I really am big on asking that question, what makes you, or asking your customers what made you come to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's okay, well, if it's reviews and your competitors have 150 reviews and you only have 5, you know what you need to work on.
Absolutely. So true. Reviews and testimonials are huge. We'll keep moving because I know we want to keep it bite-sized, digestible. Acquisition. I want to start a little bit of this because I think build trust and acquisition goes hand in hand. So if you are leveraging reviews and testimonials, that should be part of your acquisition process to show that you're out there working successfully with other individuals. But I think you really need to take a look at your buyer's journey, and everybody's buyer's journey is distinctly different, particularly the different types of B2B to B2C businesses. How are you driving that acquisition process? How are you informing your customers on how they can do their work with you and where they can find you to pursue certain avenues of work? So again, your social is important, but what kind of content are you creating to talk about how you're working with other businesses and how you can
Yes.
potentially assist your current prospects? So development of content, your knowledge base, your resources. This is a huge part of literally putting the pin or the feather in your cap for the acquisition to really get the deal across the line is usually some form of case study, testimonial, or proof of concept that you are successful and can be successful within the space. So that's a big piece from my perspective at acquisition. I don't know about your side, Mom.
The only thing that I would add is it's always fun with acquisition to bring your innovation team or your innovative people in to say, are there new ways that we can be getting our product out there or our service out there? And don't be afraid to bring innovation and acquisition to talk about, like, what could we be doing that we're not doing? I think that that's part of acquisition too.
Absolutely. And the end of the day, I know this may sound, call it crazy, but you need to get as many barriers out of the way for acquisition. So if you have to have a client that has to go here and then do this and then do that, and then eventually you get to, okay, we can start our work together. How do you streamline that process? Because in today's world, we are very much an instant gratification. Hey, I need this. I want it now. And if you can't speed up your process and meet the need in whatever way possible, then you may be losing out on business. So how do you streamline that acquisition process as well, whether it's e-commerce or B2B, and you have an MSA that needs to be in place, how you, in a proposal that needs to be done, how are you streamlining that process so you can get it done quickly, you can get it on time, and really deliver the
Yes.
service that folks are interested in? So that's acquisition. The last two, we have retention and then referral. Retention, I think, is one. Both of these are both ours. I really love, but retention is huge, and I think almost what we're doing here right now is a little bit of retention. You know, we show that we have value, show that we know that we can walk the walk and talk the talk. So getting out and doing some live virtual events about who you are, what you do, and the types of services that you provide. You may be working with a client in one way, but they may not be privy to B, C, D, E, and F services that you also have available. So it's not just retention and keeping the client, but how do you continue to penetrate the client? How do you continue to drive value into that client so they're worth something more to the business? And the more work that you do with them, more often than not, the harder it is for someone to leave you. If you're doing a lot of different projects with a business, for them to up and leave and go to a competitor is slim because they have so much investment in your business. So I think retention is not only do you want to keep your customers, but how do you continue to penetrate your customers? And that's
Yeah.
just, it's extremely valuable.
And what are related product lines that you could be offering or services that you could be offering? Even if you're not the sole provider, but maybe you have a partner that you bring in that you make a little bit of money on or whatever, that retention is always super creative too. I always think about this when I was really young, first graduated from college. I was working for a while at J.C. Penney's, and I was working in coats and dresses. And I will never forget this. It's something that has stuck with me for over 30 years. We're going on 34 years. Like, that's scary. I remember having a Rolodex, and I would be like, okay, you bought this type of dress, but you would call them. This is back in the day. You actually called up your customers that bought from you and you said, hey, Mrs. Smith, you bought this, great shirt dress for me last month, and we just got a whole bunch in. But not only that, we got these awesome scarves that go with that dress. And you were like allowed that back then to like walk them through the store and say, now this would go with it and that, and how about that jacket? And like, that has always stuck with me in marketing, is like, it's really hard when you're a business selling one widget.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying businesses don't do it, and that's not all they do, but like, even in restaurants, you see it. People add, do you want dessert? They don't just like serve you your meal and walk away.
No.
They are actually in the process. Your waitress is in the process of building and retaining a larger client and hoping that you
don't know what happened there, but I think I caught the back end of it. And I love that story because it's still so applicable today, even in, call it software sales. And this goes back to your TCP. Your TCP is using one service, but what are the other services within your product matrix that may align with their goals? So it goes back to the TCP. It goes back to your point, what did they previously buy or what do they currently use? And how do you align that with your product matrix? And you already have a relationship established. That's some of the hardest part within marketing, is how do you get the relationship started? Once you have that relationship, nurture it. And this goes into the referral aspect, which is our last R.
Well, and I'll just say this: if people got really good at the retain and refer, they would never ever need anybody like us. So there, we just talked ourselves out of
business. No,
just get really good at retention and referrals.
It is such a huge component of any business. I mean, it goes to my father's business with the hot dog stand. We have the dedicated dogger program, and we ask folks for referral. How do you get the word of mouth out? It's the same way. It doesn't matter if you're a B2B or B2C. The referral program is the easiest, cheapest way for you to get future customers. So just like retention, referral is going out to your current customer base, not necessarily asking them for the upsell, but asking them to spread the word about your business. And oftentimes referral, there is some give and take. So you have to take a look at, okay, what is, to our point at the beginning, what's the lifetime value of a customer? What are we willing to spend to get that customer to the start line? So there's sometimes referral giveaways. Take a look at, what does your customer base look like? What kind of giveaway can you use to incentivize them to share the word, share your platform, share your brand, share your products? Right. And referral is an ask. If you aren't asking, you're not going to get the referral. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing, is to push people to say, hey, look, ask. You just got to ask. You don't know what you don't know.
And I would say, like you did say at the beginning, it's the least expensive, but it doesn't, and not at all, because some people will say, like, it's where we get the best clients, so we're putting X percentage of our business into our referral campaign, which should, by the way, obviously, I think everyone knows this, be in line with the cost of your product. So you're not going to give
Absolutely.
a $50 gift card for a $10 widget, but it's in line with that. It's a percentage of that. It's based on the lifetime value of the customer. So I think you really need to look at that and dig in, and not just pull a number out of the air, because we see a lot of that. Well, like, I'm just going to say, I'm going to give a $20 gift card. There should be some kind of a formula that you're using. Like, the lifetime value of this person is $2,000, and we're, a year, and we're going to do $20 a year, or whatever your formula is. And there's some ways that we can help, and agencies can help you with that. But like, if you're just pulling it out of the air and there's no reason or rhyme for what you're doing, I think that that's wrong. And then I also think you do have to realize, like, if this is your big one, then you should be spending some money on it, making it look good,
Absolutely.
making it feel good, making it out there. People even aware. We get people that have referral campaigns and nobody even knows they have a referral campaign.
Yeah. And I think the piece I would plug on this is another opportunity for you to align with your own internal values. So perhaps there's a way for your referral program to not just be, hey, we're going to give you a $1,000 gift card, or we'll donate to a charity of your choosing on your behalf, or we'll do some form of nonprofit, volunteer work to support your organization. Those are ways to also align from a value perspective with your current client base, that at the end of the day continues to drive that relationship and tighten it for retention and acquisition and all of those other things. So referral is kind of the button to really put this thing together. But
we're almost at 20 minutes.
We're at 20 minutes. I'm going to give you the 5 again: awareness, trust, acquisition, retention, and referral. If you want to have a deeper conversation, if you're looking to have a marketing strategy talk for 2025, we would love to have that conversation with you. If you have a future topic you're interested in, drop us a note, drop us a comment, but we appreciate you diving in for another strategy talk. We'll be back for another one soon. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everybody. Take care. Cheers.